Yeah, hi Aro.
Hi. Great to. I'm really. I have not met you in person. I was in Ahmedabad a couple of year, but I could not see. But I met Dhruvan. But I think virtually I can have a session with you. So thanks for taking your time. I know there was a last minute session. Dhruvan did, but I know that you're one of the most prolific speaker, and so thanks for your time. So please go ahead, and think your session is very interesting. So please go
Yeah,
ahead and share your screen, please.
yeah, let me
I would
share
like to
my
take
screen.
just a minute here. So, thanks a lot, Kirti, for being a part of GPBB Delhi Tech community. I know it's first time you are speaking with Delhi Tech community, and we are happy to host you over here. And definitely from today, we will learn something very interesting on PCF. And guys who are new here, let me just tell you one thing. In Ahmedabad tomorrow as well, we are having GPPB in person. So if you are in Ahmedabad and if you want to meet Kirti and me in person, you can connect. You can just fill out the details on the Ahmedabad meetup group, and we can catch you tomorrow. And same previous session, Nandip and Smita's one. If you are in Pune and if you want to meet them or see them in person tomorrow in Pune Time Community, also organizing GPPB in person, so you can always go over there. All right, and feedback links will be posted into chat window. Please select Delhi Tech Community and probably provide your valuable feedback over there. All right, over to you, Kirti. Sorry for hijacking your little bit of time, but over to you.
No, no worries, Dhruvin. Yeah, thanks Aro, Dhruvin, and whole Delhi Community Power Platform team for aligning me for this session. And I think this is the sixth Global Power Platform Bootcamp we are having right now. And thanks to Dhruvin and Aro for putting all the efforts to organize these for 2 days, so like they can accommodate more speakers and allow the community members to connect with like-minded people and get some benefits, to get some knowledge, as well as you can share the knowledge with all of us. So yeah, so let me share my screen, and I'm just turning off my video just to have some better bandwidth. So I'm just sharing my screen. Yeah, and let me know, Dhruvin, if you can see the screen.
Yep.
Yes, we can say thanks.
Okay. Okay, so so today I'm going to talk about like most of the people now mostly using this Power Platform, and there is a dilemma that what needs to be used if I'm using the Canvas app, or either I'm working with the model driven app, right? So there are different options available which we need to deal with, which application we are going to use. So today I'm going to talk about few things about the PCF controls and how we can use into the Power Platform, and how that will impact the user experience, either they are accessing from the model driven app or for the Canvas app. So there are different options available to create it. And before I jump into that, I would also like to thank all the sponsors, Upzoids, Microsoft, and the Delhi community. So before I start my session, I would like to briefly give you my introduction, as I'm presenting after a long time in this online session. So myself Kirti Prajapati, and I'm based at Ahmedabad, and I'm an MVP in two categories, that is M365 and Power Platform. And along with that, I'm also Microsoft certified trainer. And as Rubin mentioned that I'm very passionate to share my knowledge in all possible ways. Either it could be online, offline, or it's a kind of a small get together or meetup in our local region. So uh, doing this, I'm an organizing this M365 Ahmedabad user group, and helping the local development community, developers community, to align with what has been introduced by Microsoft, because it's very difficult for all of us to like make ourselves up to date in terms of these features and technology changes happening day to day. So wherever possible, I'm just trying to help the community and allowing them to connect with all like-minded people and share their knowledge and learn something new from ourselves. So in today's session, my agenda will be very small, and I'm going to talk about like the introduction of PCF, what is it and why we need to use it. And as a developer, if you want to have some kind of hands-on, then we need a kind of development environment. Same like if you are working with SharePoint and if you want to create some custom component, then we are using the SharePoint framework. Same way, if you want to use PCF, then we need to set up the development environment. And after that, setting up the environment, how we can create the PCF component. So I'll walk you through about these PCA commands, PSC commands available. So we have to use those commands just to create the project and then take it further from there. And then there is a deployment process, like if you want to make it available as a solution into your environment, then you can deploy this as a component. So let me just change it to, yeah, just need to extend it. So, so first thing is I'm going to talk about the introduction of the PCF. So before we try to understand why we are going to use or why we need this PCF control. So before we like jump into that, like we need to understand this. It's a kind of Power Apps component framework. As I mentioned, for SharePoint customization, we are using the SharePoint framework. Same way for Power Apps, we are going to use this PCF component framework, which can be used to develop code components for model-driven application as well as the Canvas apps. It is not restricted that it is only available for the model-driven app, but it could be created by both of those applications. And why we need that? Like Power Apps, it's a kind of helping us to empowering all the professional or traditional developers who are able to create any kind of applications, or we can say app makers who can create the reusable code component for their Power Apps application. So sometimes what happen, like we need a kind of common component or reusable component for a specific customer. Like for an example, if one customer is looking for a kind of 20 to 25 applications, but they want a kind of header and footer remain same, right? So in that case, we can create a kind of reusable component which can be utilized throughout all the apps they are looking out for. So that way we can create a kind of reusable code components for Power Apps. And the great thing is about this is component is that it will work in both the applications, either Canvas app or model-driven app, and it can be utilized or enhance the user experience for users who are working with data or forms or views or dashboards and different screens available for the Canvas apps. Now, this is just a kind of high level introduction why we need, what is it, and the main thing is why would we require this as a developer or as a user. So it may possible that sometimes as an app maker we might have to reach certain limitations when it is coming to this building a kind of consistent and the eye-catching user experience, and functional experience should be remain as is. And most of the time with out of the box controls within Power Apps, it could be model driven app or it could be Canvas app, it might not fit with the requirement we are looking out for, right? So it may possible that we just need to extend that or enhance this capability a little further. So in that case, PCF comes into the picture and we can build a kind of code component which we can essentially create kind of visual controls and that will help us to create a more customized user interface. So by looking into those controls, you will not be able to identify that is out of the box control or it's a kind of custom controls. So that's why we are using that. And once it is available, then it can be added into your forms, the applications forms, views, dashboards, and Canvas app screens. Now, in terms of the advantages, we can think about like what are the different benefits available if you go with the PCF controls, right? So there are, I just noted down three, but there are a lot of benefits available. So first is the reusability, that the reusability, it's a kind of aspect because these components can be easily reused across multiple Power Apps, which can help us to reduce the development efforts as well as the time, as well as the cost, which is associated with creating custom functionality for each individual apps. As I mentioned, that we can create a kind of header and footer kind of common component which can be utilized throughout this environment apps. So we can use that, and we can also create a kind of a component using client frameworks where we can use the React, TypeScript, Bootstrap, and AngularJS. If you are very much handy into this programming, then it will be a good option to go with that. And then we have this responsive web design principles also can be utilized in that. So that will provide an optimal viewing and interactive experience for the screen size, whatever the screen size or the screens we have into the Canvas app or any different devices, and along with the orientation. So there will not be an issue with like if I'm opening this application in my mobile or tab or laptop or desktop, so we can get the benefit of this, as well as when it is coming to the part of the integration. So we have access to a rich set of framework. For an example, if you have some kind of APIs or third-party libraries and a different set of services, so that will let us incorporate their in external functionalities, and which allows us to expose most of the capabilities like for an example, component lifecycle management, contextual data, and other metadata. So that way we can utilize that integration part. And the most important thing is the user experience, right? So it will help us to drastically improve and enhance the user experience with seamless server access via web API, or we can utilize this data formatting method, device features like, for example, camera, location, and microphone, and easy to invoke user experience. For an example, if you want to create any dialogue, lookups, or a kind of full page rendering. So that will automatically enhance the user experience. And along with this, the most important thing is also considered as a performance. So these components are built with the PCF, which can help us to optimize for performance because of this fact that they are designed to be lightweight, and it will also ensure that they do not slow down the overall application. So these are few benefits which we can consider or think about when we are trying to use this PCF control, like as a developer. So it's better to understand why it is required and why we should go with that. Now, the question should be in our mind, like if you already working with model driven app and this power platform, then the same functionality we have been doing a lot with web resources. So what is the main difference between web resource and the PCF? So before PCF they existed, we were using this HTML web resources where we supposed to use to provide any type of custom presentation to a Power Apps forms, right? However, with the introduction of the PCF, the core components now we it's kind of combination, or we can say it's a bundle into a single solution file, and it will render as part of the same context. So we do not have to switch the context, but it could be considered into the same context at the same time as any other components, which provides a seamless experience for end users. So that's the main reason that we are going to use these web resources instead of PCF instead of the web resources. But you have to select like what would be the best option to create or implement specific requirement for the customer. So that's there. And then, so there are different. So whenever you are thinking about, like as I mentioned here, we can use this PCF component into forms. We use dashboard and Canvas app. Now you should have an idea or the question like, what are the different types of component we can create, right? So there are mainly two options: the field and the data sets. So field is a kind of a custom control for a field on a form. We can create a custom field which can be placed on any of the form, and from there we can get the functionality whatever we have programmed for that PCF component. And the second one is for the data set. Like data set is basically used for creating this for displaying rows of data. So if you want to deal with something related to kind of grid or table, then we can go with that. So there are two options available. We can go with any of them based on our requirement, and that will help us to accommodate all this functionality we are looking out for. Either it could be a kind of form level or a row level. And then the question should be in your mind, like how it is possible to get this functionality into the Canvas app. But by default, if you go to the environment and see that by default, the PCF is enabled for model-driven app. But if you want to go with Canvas app, right, if you want to create some component for Canvas app, then it is not available like it's a pre-configurable or preset functionality, but you have to enable it. So from admin center, you can select your environment, then go to the product, select the feature and search for PCF for Canvas app. So by default, it is turned off. So you can just turn on and you will be able to get this functionality for Canvas apps also. And then code component can be used to, as I mentioned, that columns, grids, and subgrids in model-driven app. So it's kind of table access we can provide from there. Now, this is just a basic understanding of what is it, why we are going to use it, and what are the different types of components available. And now it is coming a point that what if I want to start something hands-on, right? So for that, we need to set up a development environment first. Then it's kind of a prerequisite set of information I have noted down here. Like for coding part, we have a kind of editor. So I'm just considering Visual Studio Code. Then Node.js, the latest version is required. Like in most of the cases, when we are creating a project, it also says that this is the not compatible version. But if you get an error, then we can just upgrade this Node.js with the proper version. Then build tools for Visual Studio. Then this .NET Framework Developer Pack, and most important thing is Microsoft Power Apps CLI. So these five are the prerequisites which can be considered as our setup for development environment. And once we are done with that, then we will be able to create the PCF controller. So before I start anything, like walk you through about that, so let me just open my interface and I'll show you that. So let me go to my Power Apps. I'm just explaining that from where we can enable that for the Canvas app. So if I go to admin, and then I have to select this admin center for Power Automate, Power Platform, so all Power Platform. And for further for demo, I have already created or set up this environment. So from these environments, you have different set of environments, and you can select relevant environment. So I'm just selecting SPDave. So select your environment, and then from here you can just go to settings, then products, then features, and from here you can just search with PCF. I think it is coming back. Yes. Yeah, this one. Power Apps component framework for Canvas app. So by default, it is turned off. So you have to make it turned on, and then you will be able to create this component for your Canvas app. But for model-driven app, we don't have any option to enable it because it is coming just enabled feature out of the box. So that's the first thing you have to think about when if you are planning to implement something for the Canvas app. But for model-driven app, we do not have to worry about that. Right. So that's the more fun one thing. Now, let me just try to create one sample, and then I will walk you through about this project scaffolding or the project structure, where how many files are created and what are the importance and what are the what is the important of those files, and then what information those files can consider for your this solution. So for that, first let's create a kind of simple solution. So for that, you have to create one folder. So I have already created one folder in my environment on Talent. So let's say, for example, I'm opening this folder. This is the folder where I'm going to create one. So I'm just creating new folder and GPPB demo. So this is my folder, and I'm just copy this and opening my command prompt and just jumping into this directly, right? So I'm in this directory now, and after that, I'm just trying to create a kind of solution. So for that, I have to use different set of commands. So let me see, creating this PCF control. So you can see in this screen, I have mentioned that we have to use this command, right? So first is the PAC. I want to create the PCF component, and it will initialize my namespace. So namespace is my whatever the namespace you want to give, and the name of the solution, and then which template you want to use. So as I mentioned, we have two different options. Either you can create field or data set. So you can use any one of this for your PCF component. So in our example, we are going to use this field, and once this command is executed, you will be able to see that how the project structure has been created. So let's see, and I'm just copying this command, and we will use here. So let me just copy again. Back field, Control C, this, right? And I'm just changing the name because I have already created one this. I'm just giving the demo. So make sure that you can aware with the spacing between these two parameters, otherwise it will give an error. So I'm just entering this, and if I go to this structure here, so you can see this structure is created right now. So the solution will be created right away, and these are the different set of files created by default. If I go in this one, and or let me open this from here. So you can open this into the editor by using code space dot, and then it will open this Visual Studio Code for you. So you can see this is the folder structure created, and the important files are control manifest and index.ts file. So now think about this important file is manifest file. So let me just give you a brief about it. So what it contains, like it contains the name, then description, version number, and the resource files. So these are the four things which is available into this. So the name is our name of the component, which is used to identify it within the Power Apps authoring tools. So it will be easy for us to understand what will be the what is the name of this component. And description, if you want to give description, then you can just provide this here. So it will help us to understand by which purpose this application has been created. And this is the version. So by default, it comes as 001, 0.0.1, but you can change it 1.00, and then accordingly, based on the changes, you can change the version numbers. And then we have the resource file. So resource file is basically a list of resource files that component needs. For an example, CSS file. So in one of the sample I have created, so I'll show you that how we can get the reference of that CSS file. And then this is the kind of manifest file, but the most important file is the index file where we have different methods available. So first, if you think, let me see the init, right? So this is the entry point for this component, and it will help us to call when the component is first loaded. So it's a kind of initialization method for the component. When we are loading the page first time, it will call this method and invoke whatever the logic we have implemented here. And that initialize function is responsible for setting up the component and registering any event listeners or other functionalities which we are planning to accommodate for that component. That is one thing. And the second thing is update view. So this function is basically called whenever the component's property or state, we can say, change. And it is also responsible for re-rendering, like it will also re-render that component's user interface for reflecting the updated state. So if I'm entering something and if you want to reload that page, then the entered information can be immediately affected on the page. And then third one is the get outputs. So it is called by the framework prior to a component receiving new data. So it is called prior to this component receiving new data. So that is important for executing this one. And the last one is the destroy. So this method is invoked when the component is to be removed from this document object model or DOM. When we are like free out this, or we have something into the DOM tree when we are rendering this. So destroy will help us to remove that from the tree, and it will use it for the cleanup and to release any memory that the component is using. So whenever, or we can say this is a life cycle of this PCF component where we can think about initialization, then update the method, get some output, and clean up the resources consumed as a memory into this solution. So that's how this file is meant for. So initially, when we creating this solution, we have two files only, but as per our requirement, we can add n number of files where we can implement different set of logics, right? So let me get something. So I have already created one solution for this. So if I go here and I'm just opening this my PCF and coming to this point, CD, right? Now I want to test it, like how it will work when I'm trying to see the output of this component, how it will render the data. So first, I have not write anything. Let me open that into this Visual Studio Code. I've just added one thing into this init method. I just added this alert into the update view, and in init I don't have anything, right? So it will a kind of vanilla application for me. So I'm just trying to run that and see where it is opening and how it will look like. Npm run build. It's a kind of I'm just testing this application in my local host, or if you think about the SharePoint framework, then it's my SharePoint workbench. So how it will load it and allow me to get the data. So based on that, I will be able to see how my data is coming out. So I have built that. Now it is time to run it. So npm run build. Yeah, sorry, npm start. I have built it. Npm start. Now you can see it will open my localhost. Now the localhost is port number 8181, and you can see my Firefox is open. So this is the alert which I have added into the update method. So if I go to this and check this alert, so this is the update view is invoked, right? And clicking on that. So this is the interface for the PCF. Whatever the PCF you are creating, the first look and feel will be this in terms of local host testing. From here, you can just provide this the configuration you are looking out for. So if you want to add some kind of controls, additional controls, here I'm just using single line of text. So that's why I have one control available. But I'll show you the other component which I have created using Bing Map API call just to render the a map for a kind of account entity in model driven app. So from here, you can just have different set of properties or the controls, and you can validate how it will look like when it is available for end users, right? So this is how it will look like. And if I want to change the container or the value here, I can change it from, see, whenever I'm trying to update something, the update view gets called. So every time something is updating, it will reflect automatically. Right? So that's how it works. Now, the other component I have created that is regarding this, the kind of I created one text box. I'll open that code also. Let me just come out from this code dot, and it will open my Visual Studio Code. So here, if I see right here, I have added this two control text value, auto height, and then this is the group where I'm going to add this information. So basic idea is to allow me to enhance or change the height and width of the control which I am going to place on my form. So that's what I have setting up here. And in this index.ts file, I have implemented the logic which I'm looking for. So let's say, for example, CSS file. Yeah, in the init method, this is my logic. So I want this to be rendered. This is the area in which I want something to be loaded when my page load is happened. And then on input or on change, I'm just trying to get that information for these controls. And here I have used this function auto size text area. So based on whatever the entry I'm entering into the height or the width section, it will automatically resize that text control which I have added here. Right. So let me run this. So first npm run build. Then I will use the same command npm start, and it will open my local host or local workbench or local testing area. It will again open in Mozilla Firefox, right? So here you can see now in the right side panel, you can see more controls, right? So this is based on the information I am looking for that user should be able to access. So I have added a couple of controls for data input and one for data output, right? So if I'm entering something here, let's say, for example, I'm just writing a line of code. This is a great event happening today for GPPB Delhi community. And I'm just using this Control C, Control V, right? So my text box is like that. Now, here you can see the component container width as well as the value is 227 right now, the auto height value. So if I change this to 500 and I need to give this like this 50 and container height 350 500, right? So if I add 100, so this way I will be able to like resize the content, whatever the content I am entering, because sometimes the requirement comes like I do not want to have a kind of scroll bar for specific text box, but it should behave as a single line of text box. But whenever user is entering that information, it should automatically resize my control and allowing me to enhance this height and width of that specific control. So this is just an example with one scenario which we can consider that how it will look like when it is available into the form, right? So this is the another example. And now let me go to the actual one which I have used in one of my application. So let me go to the so I'm just explaining the one which I have created using Ping Map API, where I'm trying to get this location of the specific information which is entered by user. So this is my environment. I have added this in my SPQA environment, and I'm going to use apps. So under the apps, I have created this model driven app called event. This is my model driven app. So let me just one edit, and I'm just duplicate it and go back, apps, all, and play. So this is my entity for account I have created or added that. So let me just open this, any of the record. So I'm opening this. And now for this record, here I have the section, this section, right? You can see this information is already there. That's why it is rendering with this one. But let me just create new record. And I'm just using this, saving it. And now I'm adding this information. So speak console, Ganesh, Glory 11, then near university. So you can see whenever I'm typing something, this map is rendering with that details. So city Ahmedabad, then zip code 38470, and India. See, the whole address is automatically updated based on whenever I'm typing something, it is updating, right? If I change this, see, it is automatically reflected here. So that's how this update view method is also working. Now, I have added this component. I'm just editing this form now. So I have added this for the account. So I'm just editing that. And how you can place that after deploying that solution or building that. Go back. So from here, you can see we have this option in the left side. So once it is deployed as a solution, so let me open that. Go back again. So there is a deployment command where we have to add the publisher, and once it is available, then that solution can be accessible from the solutions where you can find this one I have created for that. This is the solution, and right. So you can create this section here, or I have just created this for that. And when I select this, or let me add one more section just to have. section, and I'm going to add one column section. So the section is here. Now I want to add this control in this section. So just go to this component, and in more components, I will have that component name. So Bing Maps Grid. So I'm just clicking on that. So once you click on that, this is the property pane which is set in your code. So all these controls I have added here in my logic. So in this file, I have to write a code, what kind of control I am looking for. Let's say, for example, not for this, let me close it. For this solution, I have those controls, not for this two, for this, yeah. So here I have used those text box controls where I was supposed to change the height and width of this, the control which I have added on my form. So you have to write a logic here, and based on that, it will look like this. So from here, I have to configure that, okay, for which entity I'm looking for. So select your entity. I'm just selecting accounts and selecting the view. In primary field, the name is the default one. Now here, you can see address one, latitude. So this is just a text, but yeah, so you can provide the static text, whatever the information you're looking for. Then this is my value, latitude, longitude, and this one, this is the pin, like this is the API coming with that. So it's a waypoint I have added here, like you can see in this menu, sorry, in the map. So you can see the waypoint. This is this one. This is the push pin that I have configured in my code also. Then Bing Map API key. If you want to have something here, you can provide it. Otherwise, you can also keep into your code, and then from there you can just pull it out based on the logic. And then it is available for web, mobile, and tablet. So all for all these devices, the component will be visible for all the end users. And once I configure that, and then done, then it will be available same like this. So whenever I'm trying to enter something for this, whatever the field I have added, like for example, address one, I have added map with latitude, longitude, and then push pin. So I am using actually 3 or 4 fields from this, but some of the fields I have hard coded use into the system, like CT. So you can also have kind of configurable part rather having hard coded, but you can utilize this configurable file in your application in code part, and then you can bring in something as per your requirement for this component. So that's how it works. But yeah, and for solution, let me see if I can get these commands for deploying. So there are deployment commands available if you want to deploy it and check it as a publisher. So it's the same kind of command functionality we have to use, the spec CLI. So you can also identify from the spec CLI command toolkit, like what are the different commands available to deploy, debug and deploy. And then you can create one solution folder, and then solution folder will be deployed to your environment. And one thing I forgot to mention, that whenever you are building this solution, so this folder, this out folder will create automatically. Like in SharePoint, when we are building the solution and running that, creating the package file, the solution folder automatically created. So same way here, this out folder will be automatically created, and it will have these files in this one. The name control name is dynamic input PCF. So it will help us. Okay, my build is working as expected, and I can see the folder is created into the system. Right. So that's how it works. And if you want to get in, have some hands-on, then you can also find some training materials from learn.microsoft.com regarding building a Power Apps component. Either it could be for Canvas app or the for model eagle app. Yeah, I think that's it from my side. And Yeah. Any questions?
Uh, Amazing session, Casey. Really, really good. And it's something which is like I always want to learn about PCF, and I know it's like it's slightly more coding experience required. But we have one question. Harris, you can unmute yourself and ask a question. The question which you have.
Okay. Can you please tell me the difference between component library and PCF component?
Yeah,
Because I
component
think
library. Sorry. So
yes,
component
you can go.
library.
You can go.
Yeah, whenever we are creating the web resources, we have to add that web resources from the component library first thing, right? So whatever the JavaScript or the web resource, either it could be HTML or JS file or SVG file, you have to have the component library. But in this PCF control, it is behaving as a different set of component. It will not be as a component library, but let me see, open it again. And if I go here, so whatever the solution I have published here in my environment, uh, it will be available into this more component, right? And if I once it is solution is deployed, I can just get it from here also. So this is the component which is available in my environment as a solution. So whatever the component I'm creating, it will be available as a solution. It could not be as a file or library. But if you want to have something, let's say, for example, on this field, I want something and event, then you can just create event. And then this is the library where you have to upload this, whatever the JavaScript or the resource file you have created, you have to add that from here. And from here, you can just see new web resource or pull in something which is already there. For example, this, and then you have to provide the function name. But this is for a specific control. And here we are getting a set of different group of controls, or we can say more than one control, which can help us to get that functionality done for us.
Uh, okay. Kriti, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Kriti. You no, I'm not asking about the web resources. I'm asking about the component library that we use for in Power Apps. Like we don't have to use HTML, and let me show you to where it is. Can you press back button?
Okay.
Back and please press back. Okay. Can you please press more and discover all? Discover all.
Mm-hmm.
Scroll down and here
This
you
one,
have
right?
in
Component library.
yes, I'm talking about this one.
Okay. So okay, so we are talking about this create a component library. Yeah, we can create the
Yeah.
component library, but yeah, I was talking about this different difference between the web resources. Yeah, we can create the component library based on our requirement. Like I just mentioned that if you want to create the reusable component, then you can create those and use into different application uh, throughout the environment based on our requirement. But for this one, I just not creating a kind of reusable component. But yeah, if it is a requirement, we can create library and add those components here. But for PCF, I don't think that will work because we have to have this as a solution. And I don't think in this component library we can add the solution. It's a kind of library, right? Save as a app component so you can reuse them in future app. I'm not sure. I have not used that, but
Let me just summarize this thing, Kirti. Maybe I can
yeah, Dhruvin.
quickly
Yeah,
answer that. So,
yeah,
look, this component library is specifically for Canvas application where you just
yeah.
want to create like reusable controls like header, footer, left navigation, or if you want to build some sort of menu bar, probably this component library will be helpful to you. While the Kirti show the PCF component, specifically PCFs are applicable everywhere. It can be used into Canvas as well as
Mm.
model driven as well as pages. While this is called called as a canvas component library. So only limited is to canvas application. This component that you build here, you can't use it into model driven application. That's one difference. And second thing is that this component library is specifically the low code base. So here you don't require any code skill knowledge. With your canvas component itself, you can build that component library over there, while those PCF specifically you require some sort of coding skill in order to build your own custom component. So this is what the base difference in between those two which you are asking about. This is like Kirti's session fully focused on the pro code one, so it's for that one. Hope that gives you some clarity, or maybe hope I didn't confuse you.
Yeah,
Yes,
thanks, Ravan. Actually, I was
thank you,
about
Dhruvan.
to share the question which Kshitij has, but at least you answered it very beautifully. Yeah. Uh, so I think we have another question, right? Sitish, you have a
Yeah,
question as well?
yeah. Hi,
Yes.
I had one question. Like, is it possible to create a reusable component which could work both on Power Platform and SharePoint?
SharePoint,
Yes,
SharePoint or
SharePoint
Canvas?
Online. Yeah, SharePoint Online. Both Power
No,
Platform, Canvas app, and SharePoint.
no, I don't think so, because for SharePoint we have the different framework. We are using the
Mhm.
SharePoint framework, and that is purely based on the code part. But for Power Platform, or either it could be model driven app or Canvas, we have the different framework. So
Okay,
we cannot use
okay,
it.
got it.
Both the
Thank you.
context is different. Like if you want to have this component for Power Platform, then we have to use the Dataverse, and in SharePoint we have this SharePoint list,
Yeah,
right? So both the framework are different. Go with SharePoint,
yeah,
then go with the SharePoint framework. Create web parts,
yeah.
or
It just occurred to me, like, like seeing the similarity in the code structure.
yeah,
Like, if there is
yeah,
some tool like to quickly migrate it from one platform to another, or if it is
yeah,
somewhere in works.
yeah. That's
I
why I
was just
mentioned.
hoping for. Yeah,
That's why I mentioned in the beginning. Like, see, this PCF components a kind of Power App component framework, and it's the same way we
yeah,
have the SharePoint framework.
right. Yeah, I know. Like, for now, it is not there available, but I
Yeah,
was just hoping if you are aware of, like, if something is in pipeline, which may enable in future.
maybe hope for the best.
Yeah. Uh, I think I have no questions. I want to big thanks to Kirti. I know that it's a last minute thing which you get a gift presentation to this group. So I really appreciate that you took this time. And if you have any questions, right, it's a LinkedIn. So you can contact his LinkedIn profile, and then he will able to. Let me share his LinkedIn profile. You can ask him other further question if you want to, because it will be easier than we discuss in this team chat, right? And further questions and more technical questions you have, you can ask him. So I'm just sharing his LinkedIn profile, and then you can ask his more technical questions, anything functional questions you can ask him. So I just share it, and most important thing is please uh, help to um, uh, do the feedback form for this session, please. So it's we can get more details on that. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So thanks, Kirti. Really appreciate. I'm going to stop the recording.